Well, howdy do, everybody. Welcome back to the Square the Circle Music channel. It's me again, your pal, your host, Aaron Major. That's right. Goofy looking feller over here in Oregon that likes to talk about all those fun things that we like to collect. Records, movies, all kinds of neat things. Yeah, I've just been really inspired and really heavily influenced by a newfound friend here in the vinyl community. And what do friends do? They immediately just decide to challenge each other over opinion-based material. Of course, good-natured. This is all fun and games. One of my favorite new channels, new to me, it's not a new channel by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, but David from the Garage Geek channel, our favorite Garage Geek. David is magnificent dude, fantastic channel, talks about all things wonderful, collectible. Yeah, he's got his own little kind of treasure trove nerdery that he likes to just kind of like hunker down in, and just, you know, he has little chit chat talks that he goes through. He shows all kinds of graphic novels and records, and just has incredible taste and really great opinions. And so we've been kind of like tossing stuff back and forth, ideas and, you know, music and stuff like that. And you know me and all my bullshit opinions. I'm never any shortage of my my salty opinions, and I'm bouncing stuff off him. And he, not to say anything, you know, ill-natured, but he definitely was kind of like, oh, wait, now just 1 second. I threw some shade at Prince, and I don't particularly like Prince as an artist, as a musician, at all, really. And I know there's billions of people in this world that feel otherwise, and David just happens to be one of those. And so he said, hey, you and me, Octagon, right fucking now. So he did. He said, I'll see you in the arena, motherfucker. Let's talk. And he wanted to throw some Prince at me, and I was like, word, let's do this. So it was a challenge. He told me, you got to listen to this Prince album every day for a week. And then, like, you know, I'll see you in the arena, being, you know, YouTube. And so I thought twice, not twice about the challenge. I jumped right on the challenge, which is awesome. But I was just like kind of going over what I could toss at him, because he has such a wide array of tastes and knowledge. And seemingly likes all types of really great music, knows a lot about metal, knows a lot about prog, knows a lot about, you know, indie rock and stuff. And so that's kind of my bag. And so I'm like, what can I throw at this guy that'll, you know, be a challenge for him? So I tossed out, you know, and I kind of wanted to throw a little bit of a curveball at him, because he was really seemingly wanting me to like give him some kind of real, you know, super deep, progressive, you know, kind of like something really heady to chew on. And, you know, he throws basically what's like an extended EP, one of Prince's first albums, which is like all of like a 28-minute album or something like that, you know. So I wasn't going to throw him a 72-minute, you know, prog metal masterpiece for him to fucking try to, you know, fully absorb and digest in a week's time. So I wanted to give him something interesting. I wanted to give him something artistic and delicious, but still very pop sensible, because he is an individual that respects and loves pop music, popular music, upbeat, dance music, club music, that type of thing. And so that's a world outside of me, and I don't listen to music like that, and that's why I've really never latched on to Prince. So I threw at him a fantastic pop rock artist from Norway named Øyvind Holm. And I watched your episode today, Dave, and I too, I have no idea how to pronounce Norwegian consonants and the interesting, you know, markers that they use and symbols in their language. So I too am just going to pronounce it Øyvind. So, but everybody check out the album After the Bees by Øyvind Holm, and go ahead and meander on over to the Garage Geek channel and see David's review about our little battle in the octagon. Check it out. So he gave me the Prince album, Dirty Mind, 1980s Dirty Mind. And I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard this one at all. I'm mildly familiar with his first self-titled album from '79, the one with the really fantastic, goofy, shirtless, long-haired portrait of him. I remember hearing that. And of course, I'm wholly familiar with his middle career, Purple Rain and whatever. My first experience with Prince was late '80s when he was on top of the world for the Batman soundtrack, the original Tim Burton film, the Batman film. And so Prince did the soundtrack for that. My buddy had the soundtrack and we would listen to it all the time. It was on at everybody's house, and I just never, it just kind of turned me off immediately. I didn't like the kind of like real kind of saccharine, it just wasn't my flavor. It wasn't my bag. I'm from a different time. I'm probably about, anywhere from 8 to 10 years younger than my, the guy I'm battling here. So definitely not really my era. And I can see how, in 1980, if you're, a young adult and you're just starting to kind of go to clubs and go to parties and you've got your first, love interest and whatever, and this is the kind of stuff you guys are getting sticky on, I get it. I totally get it. And it's fantastic. So I'll just get into it here. We're in the arena here. It's me versus, me and Oyvind Holm versus the Garage Geek and his Dirty Mind, Prince's Dirty Mind. So, yeah, just starting right off the bat, it's everything I ever thought it would be, because it's really just kind of the quintessential sound that Prince designed for himself from the get-go, from the very beginning. It was just very, R&B and funk and, blues influenced, but just with his own fun little stylistic, plain and simple kind of direct way of just getting his artistry out to the world. Yeah, starting with the opening track, which is the title track, Dirty Mind. And it just, doom, 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 it just gets you in the mood, just that stomp, that quarter note, and that quarter note pulse really, in a sense, never stops throughout the whole album. This album's very quarter note heavy. It's very, it's a theme throughout this, and honestly throughout a lot of his career. Incredibly simplistic grooves, driving quarter note based, but all of the syncopation and all of the interesting parts lie within the bass guitar riffs and the drumming, which is wherein is the only syncopation at all. And so you just kind of have this constant dun 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 dun, just driving quarter note and eighth notes on the synthesizer just over and over and over again. And that's kind of like every song. And so wherein lies my problem with artists like this, like I said, since I didn't grow up, or I did grow up in that era, I wasn't a young adult in that era. And so music, from 1980 to 1990 was just kind of going right over my head in a lot of ways. I mean, there was some other stuff that I really latched onto, but this stuff was never really part of that. It's dance party music for young adults. You know what I mean? And that's what it was intended for. And yeah, I mean, this album's just dripping with, with sex. It's just dripping. I mean, the artist himself, he's just, an enigma, an absolute fucking sweaty, greasy enigma. And that I respect and love. It's cool. It just is not, it's not my flavor. It's just not my flavor. But that title track, the opening track, is pretty dope. It's just a highly danceable album. But yeah, the overly simplistic nature, like I said, is immediately what kind of turns me off about music like this. I can go with the kind of this is where he gets his roots. You can see that he's an artist that's really burgeoning and blossoming, and there's so much more to come out of him, and that's cool. I dig that. There's super cool, unhinged, kind of like, you know, breakaway kind of punk rock moments on this album, which is really fucking cool to hear and really cool to like kind of understand like why people really, really appreciate and love this album from him, as opposed to like worshiping. I mean, a lot of people worship like, you know, Purple Rain and stuff like that, but yeah, I could see how this would be the one that you would want to throw at me. Track 2, fantastic. What's it called again? Yeah, you When You Were Mine. It's just that really that really poppy kind of like R&B, golden era doo-wop kind of feel. He's even got those really like clever inserted, like really horribly punched in as far as like the sound production goes. Like it's really kind of like odd and invasive, but you know, it's his background, you know, vocals just kind of la da 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 coming in the background doing all that singing, and it's endearing still, even though it's cheesy as fuck and the production value is garbage, which understandably so. There was no money spent on this album. I get that. I certainly get that, but even those cheesy pop moments that are meant to be kind of like over, you know, overdone, kind of out there. It's fun. It's charming. I dig it. Again, just, you know, technically speaking, incredibly simplistic and kind of, you know, I guess you could say elementary, but not all music has to be complicated. I understand. And this is just, you know, him being him, it being it. So yeah, pretty cool. That's a good one. Oh yeah. And I made a note of just like in that song, it is kind of just straightforward, kind of doo-wop, whatever, rock and stuff. But that in the middle of it, there's a very odd bridge that comes out of nowhere. I mean, not really. Most standard rock and roll tunes, that would be where you would insert a type of bridge. But yeah, he nails that, and it's just this great little like synth solo. I'll try to do like a little snippet here, a little quick edit in of what part I'm talking about. But it's just a really super fast 8-bar, you know, synth solo for a bridge that comes in before like the final verse and the final chorus when it kicks out. That's some really ingenuitive, fun little insertions that I'm talking about. Getting away from just the real kind of cookie cutter, you know, verse, chorus, then the bridge, then the third verse, chorus, end, you know. That's kind of the way this, you know, his albums just read like a novel like that. It's just a little bit too derivative for me. I don't believe I ever said that I hate Prince or that Prince sucks. Maybe I did say Prince sucks at one point, just kind of like throwing it out as kind of just fodder. Like I say asshole-ish things sometimes. I honestly don't think Prince sucked. It just, it's not for me. A, it's not for me. And B, it's highly subjective to whether or not anyone could really call it like groundbreaking or, you know, like pushing the envelope or progressive or, you know, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to get into, you know, I don't want to cause too many like, you know, upset people or anything like that, but whatever. Not the rest of the album. The next 3 tracks, I literally just kind of was like, it's a skipper. Meh. You know what I mean? Like, Do It All Night is totally meh. There's some, I remember there being some really interesting, cool, like more synth moments that were less straying away from just kind of the, you know, simplistic pop eighth note kind of just da na 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 thing that he does throughout the whole album. This had some more kind of like you know, moments that were just kind of like going somewhere. I wrote just kind of like some prog inspirations, mostly because the synth sound that he was getting, whatever effect it was, had some kind of like 70s prog elements and sounds to it. But yeah, the whole track kind of boring. Track 4, Got a Broken Heart Again, also just kind of, in my opinion, just a skipper of a track. Very standard. I immediately got visions of kind of like my era, like 90s rock, when bands started kind of like taking these sounds from the early 80s and, you know, the fun kind of catchy pop, electro, dance, funk stuff that Prince was doing, and, you know, and started kind of like not mocking it, but just kind of like playing with it and just making it way better. But like kind of taking the sound and embracing it and using it a little bit. I specifically was thinking of the band Ween. Primarily, like I said, the track 3, track 4, both they just sound like cheesy Ween songs to me. And I know that's not fair because this was all written 9 years before Ween was even a band. You know, I get it, but that's just kind of like I said, it's kind of just like, it's fodder, in my opinion. It's kind of just fodder to be taken and just kind of like manipulated and made way better. And it's so cookie cutter that that's what you can do. It's like a template. It's a template for something much greater, which, you know, I'm sure Prince did throughout his whole career, was just kind of like take the stuff that he already had in his brain, you know, moments that he had already kind of created, and he's just kind of like adding chocolate chips to the banana bread. You know what I mean? Adding chocolate chips to the banana bread. Maybe I should make some banana bread tomorrow. Track 5, Uptown, is still kind of just meh, but this one being more kind of like disco dance, just kind of, it's really super straightforward. It's just a straight up disco dance song. But I get it. That was the era. That was what everyone wanted to hear. Everyone wanted to go clubbing, and they wanted to slam their bodies into each other and lick the spit off each other's backs. I mean, who hasn't all been there? I know I have. So yeah, nothing much to say about that track, honestly. That's the whole kind of middle, like I said, the middle chunk of the album is just kind of like boop, 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 boop. Could just kind of skip past all these tracks, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Oh, but you know, I made a note about a really great lyric, and that's another thing that I do respect about Prince as an artist, as a person, someone who's in the limelight, making the art, part of the art, sells the art as himself. He is the enigma, you know. There's that lyric about not gonna let society tell us how it's gonna be, and just the kind of fuck you punk rock attitude, like I said, you know, he's always represented that to me, in a way, which I dig, that cool punk rock mentality of just kind of like, fuck society, and I'm not going to fit into any of your little boxes. And I am what I am, you know, the Popeye mantra, you know, I can dig that. And I can see why you, David, you really latch onto that. And artists that represent that, I get it. I totally get it. And I'm with you. So good, got those 3 out of the way. Hard to talk about. There's nothing so memorable about those 3 songs that really kind of made me want to just a couple quick notes about them and just whatever. But on to track number 6, my favorite track on the album, of course, Head. It's probably the only song that I will ever revisit from this album by Prince, because it's a fucking this album, or this song, just is fantastic. It's, in my opinion, wholly representative of like what is embodied by Prince and his career, all summed up in that fucking song. So funky fresh, that beat and that groove, the melody, wonderful. The lyrical content is fantastic. It's really great. All the slurping sound effects and everything. It's just so great, tongue-in-cheek, and just so nasty, so naughty. I love it. Loved it to death. Great fucking song. Honestly, the saving grace of the album. Saving grace of the album. And actually is the next track too, Sister. So it's also indicative of like what in a person who's just kind of like a fence sitter, and someone who's in the background, who wasn't there. I wasn't part of the era. I was just a little kid. I didn't discover Prince until, like I said, 89, the Batman album, and by that time he was already a mega icon. So this stuff is like, That was his early career, summed up in those two songs, Head and then Sister. What does he say? Incest is everything they said it would be, or something. And just talking about his, oh my God, it's so nasty, and I love it. It's so great. And that was the one too that I was saying, like the attitude, man. It's punk rock attitude, that clean guitar sound, you know, and that's some punk rock guitar playing right there. Pretty fucking cool, you know. I get it. Anyone that, you know, says this album has like those makings of like, you know, this is what was in his head, and this was just kind of the real developmental, like, you know, the soup about to be served, you know. It has those elements that make it pretty great. I get it. And then the final track on the album is also actually really fantastic. So if you take this album and turn it into an EP, in my opinion, track 1 and 2, the title track and When You Were Mine, and then skip the rest and go straight to Head, Sister, and then Party Up. Got to party up. Party, it's time to party up. Yeah, really fucking cool, danceable again. You know, this is the perfect album to put on at a party. I get it. And in 1980, this shit's the jam. It was the jam in 1980, I bet. So I wish I was there. I was a newborn. I was a newborn in 1980. So this was, you know, I was a decade behind. So that's really, you know, that's most of what I've got to say about him. I hope I wasn't overly offensive about any of that and all of that, but really fun to kind of like, you know, be invited into the arena. Like, let's talk about this. And I've had time to reflect, and like I said, I will recant my initial opinion of Prince just kind of being sucky. And I truly don't think Prince sucked. It just was not for me. It was for a different time, a different place. And then when that shit dried up in 1989, that was for me just kind of like, okay, I just have no interest. And I can wholly agree and understand why people truly adore it and what it stands for and what it represents for a lot of individuals. That I am all about, and I think that's the shit. So there's so many great, fantastic artists that I hide behind all the time. Not hide behind, that's a terrible analogy, but I mean like use to prop me up, use to make me feel like I am being noticed, you know, like I exist. There's artists out there for everybody like that, and it's important to latch on to those people that are, you know, your tower, you know, that elevates you. And if Prince elevates you, fuck yeah, that's rad. Yeah, because there's some really stupid, dorky shit that elevates me. So make fun of me. Yeah, I hope you, Dave, from the Garage Geek channel, thanks for the invite. I hope you enjoyed Oyvind Holm. Seemingly you did. I did watch your video. And you had lots of great things to say about it. And even kind of deeper things than I've really ever thought about, to tell you the truth. My favorite track is that second song. What's it called? Yeah, like you were spot on about like kind of like super Beatles influence, huge Beatles influence, but yeah, I'll have to review like your video again, because you were really introspective and really cool about all the little things that you pointed out, stuff that like I said, kind of goes over my head. That's what this this little thing we do. It's what it's about, you know, bouncing shit off of each other. Been a lot of fun in the arena with you, Mr. Garage Geek. I salute you, and I call it a draw. I'm raising the white flag. I think you and I are an excellent match in the arena. I'll be your captain, James T. Kirk, if you'll be my Gorn. So until next we meet.